So nice to be here. It's an excellent way to start off the fall, I think. So my name is Johanna Ekeberg. I'm an Agile coach and a trainer, and I work, you can tell from the outfit that I associate with We Are Movement. We do black, right? So I'm actually going to talk a little bit about my Agile coach life and my interest in leadership and how I came into finding out about this one. So I've been working in different leadership roles since the beginning of 2000 to 2004, and also with Agile methods for the same amount of time. And I've always been interested in leadership. First, my own, as a manager, as a project manager, and then moving into Agile coaching is others. How can I help others with this? And I also tend to reflect a lot about my leadership as a mother, and also when I work with horses, because that requires a lot of less words, and I'm being a bit more, just showing what it is you want, and also listen for the reactions. So basically, when I go out there and work with Agile transformations or helping organizations move into a new way of working, I usually get they want me to work with structure, way of working, setting up the system. But what I do work with mostly is leadership at all levels in the organization. And when I'm out there working, I tend to lean on a framework, lean Agile framework called SAFe. Some of you are familiar with this one, I think, Scaled Agile Framework. It talks a lot about leadership. It has core values, talks about alignment, transparency, respect for people, and relentless improvement. It talks about principles like how can we unlock the intrinsic motivators of knowledge workers, and how can we create an environment where we decentralize decision making. That all points back to leadership. The framework also tells you that leadership is the key to make a change stick. Make it happen, make it stick. And then they point to a few sources, and then they give you a few lists telling you generative culture has these traits. A servant leader has these traits, and that's it. So for me, there's always been a gap. And I try to fill that with everything that I learned throughout the years. I did a few leadership courses as well. But Johanna's experience pointing to obscure models didn't quite help sometimes. So I had the opportunity to work at an organization where we worked in close combination with HR. And they were sort of in charge of supporting leaders throughout the organization, supporting and training, and also responsible for educating every leader, whether it was a manager or a project manager, in leadership. And early on, starting to introduce this Agile framework for the fourth time, maybe, I think, we realized that leadership in the organization as a whole, and the leadership that we talk about within this Agile transformation part is sometimes seen as a different silo from everything else. It's the same. And since they were a company that were talking about more had English as their language, they talked about transformative leadership. And about the same time, Carl and I, we sort of have the same interests sometimes in these things. We talked about the Swedish model. Utvecklande ledarskap, and I decided to take a course in that. And all of a sudden, sitting there, seeing this, I felt this I can use. This sort of fills one of the gaps, at least, so that I have something concrete to talk about when I talk to leaders, whether they are in the line organization or in the so-called virtual Agile organization. It's the same kind of leadership. And I can use it as a general model, talking about what is leadership. What do I see? What kind of styles do you have? How is your environment looking? but also specific leadership situations where one of the people that I coach is in a situation, we can actually back out of that, either prepare for it or reflect on it together afterwards. On what happened here? And for different organizations, different things emerge, of course, depending on context, depending on what we're trying to do. And I'm currently working with one of my customers, and they have very good intentions, but often end up down in the passive corner because they are from both sides, both from the sort of people and the leaders, they're very afraid of hurting each other. And instead of just going out there and have the courage that Klaus talked about, being up here where they actually think they are, being authentic, being transparent, they end up in a passive corner. They still think, when I talk to them, that what they are doing is this kind of behavior. They can talk about it in the terms of the lean agile model that we're talking about. But when we talk to the people, the group that they are presenting to or talking to, the perception is different. So this gives me a fantastic tool, and I've also put into practice to always work with HR as a coach, because they have a broader sort of stage for talking about leadership in an organization. I have absolutely no idea about the time, but what I want to say is that for me, in my profession as an Agile coach, this and Agile, they're the perfect match.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have really good news, which is that there's plenty of pizza now cooked and ready.
Yay!
But don't run for it, because someone might get hurt. And I want to throw you off into the deep end and eat pizza, yes, drink coffee, yes, drink wine, but also challenge you with a riddle. So there's a few behaviors, things you could observe someone working with Agile methods do in this little list, about 12 of them. And you're going to find your color group, because you have a color on the front page, like blue, and there you see there's different markings on the wall in the 2 rooms. Go to your color and then meet the people who are there. And together, given what you've learned about the leadership model, just a little bit, talk about how would this behavior be interpreted in the context. And then you, of course, have to discuss what is the context that's happening in, of course. But then, take an example. Just pick from the list. You meet up and you go, okay, let's pick one. Let's take number 4. Scrum Master, like you said, Patrick, only updating Jira in team events and meetings, not really doing anything more than that. How could that be perceived? Just looking through the lens of the leadership model. Inspirational and motivational? What would it require to be that? Over control? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So choose a context, talk about this specific observable behavior in that context, and then classify it with the model that you have in front of you in this one, using just the knowledge that you have today. And do eat a lot of pizza and drink some more wine, and be back at 8 o'clock.